Okay, folks, let's go on with the exercise that I said we should solve. Now, if we solve this exercise, what is important and what we should note here is that A is equals to 3, and then our B is equals to -5, our C is equals to 1, right? Now, what happens is this. If we are to substitute in the formula, then x is going to be equal to minus 5 plus minus the square root of 25 minus 4 into 3 into 1 all over 2 into 3, 2 times 3. Now, this will bring me to a positive 5, which is a 5, that one there, plus minus the square root of 13. It must be the square root of 13. Right? After working out this, 25 minus 4 into 3 plus 1. Underneath the square root sign, it gives us 13 all over 6. Now, all over 6 means that this is going to be x being equal to 1,4 or x being equal to 0,2, accurate to 1 decimal place. Now let's be careful. It is important that when we are to answer these questions, let's read what the examiner wants. It may be set accurate to 1 decimal place, or it may be set accurate to 2 decimal places. It depends what the examiner wants. But now let's follow what the examiner wants. Now, if I have my answer as 1,4 and 0,2, then this is accurate to 1 decimal place. Right. Now, let's see how the 4 marks is being received. The 4 marks is going to be received by substitution, the root of 13, x is equals to 1,4, x is equals to 0,2. And then that is going to count 4 marks. Now, another subtopic that we are going to have. Remember, we had quadratic equations with factors. We have just finished quadratic equations which does not have factors. Now, let's go to quadratic inequalities. That is another subtopic. Quadratic inequalities. Now, I'm just going to give out an example of this one. Now, an example of this one is as follows. If you have 7x squared plus 18x minus 9, which is greater than 0, then this is no more an equation. Remember that I said an equation has an equal sign, but this one does not have an equal sign. It has an inequality. Greater than is an inequality. Therefore, we are going to call it a quadratic inequality. Now, this quadratic inequality is the subtopic also that we are going to solve. Now, let me see how this quadratic inequality is going to be solved. Now, I am going to factorize the left-hand side of the quadratic inequality. Now, if I factorize the left-hand side of this quadratic inequality, the factors are going to be 7x minus 3 into x plus 3. Now, this thing should be greater than 0. Remember that. Don't make a mistake of, instead of an inequality, you write an equal sign after writing it properly. So be careful about that. Now, to solve this, there are two ways. There are two ways. Now, two ways in the sense that I'm going to draw a line. After drawing a line, I can see that for the equality, I'm going to have negative 3. And for another equality, I'm going to have 3 over 7. Now, if I have x to be minus 3, then this is going to be a 0. And if I have x again to be 3 over 7 here, then I'm going to be having a what? A 0. So let's check here. Let's check here. From negative 3 up to 3 over 7. Then I'm going to have a negative sign there. And then here I'm going to have a positive sign. And there I'm going to have a positive sign also. And then again, when drawing a quadratic function of that, it is going to be like this. This is negative 3. This is 3 over 7. And then when I look at this one here, my quadratic equation was telling me about something that is going to be greater than 0. Now, being greater than 0 implies that something is positive. Being greater than 0, it means something that is going to be positive. Now, I know if I am to get something positive, I must multiply negative by negative so that I get a positive, or positive by positive so that I get a positive. Now let me see. It simply means that for me to get negative by negative so that it should be positive, I must take these values from here to the left and from here to the left. Therefore, what does that mean? It simply means that x is less than negative 3 for those values from negative 3 to the left. But I must not include the negative 3 because the sign of the inequality there was talking about greater than. So I must include all those values there, right? The same applies here. I take these values or those whereby x is going to be greater than 3 over 7. And then what is going to happen is this. Allocation of the marks. Allocation of the marks is going to be like this. For the factors, a 1 mark. For the factors, 1 mark. And then for 3 over 7 and negative 3, you get a mark. And then I think for the correct interval, then you are going to get this, and that is going to count out of 4. Right. This is another subtopic that we are going to answer in our examination. Right. Now let me see now, how am I going to get 1 out of you so that you must be able to get this for me. Now I'm just going to give you an exercise on this one. right? Now, this one is going to be negative 9x squared, negative 9x squared plus 15x minus 4 is less than a 0, and it counts 4 marks also. Now, let's try this one as an exercise. I'm going to give you something like 3 to 4 minutes to answer this one here. Thank you. Good folks, let's go to our exercise. We have minus 9x squared plus 15x minus 4, which is less than 0. Now, this, as it is, as I said, is an inequality. Inequality. Now, if it be an inequality, then we are just going to work it like this. When we look here, we have negative 9x squared plus 15x minus 4, it's less than 4. When I look at the coefficient of x squared, it is negative 9x. It is negative 9x. It is negative 9. Now, what is going to happen is this. When I multiply each and every term by negative 1, this is going to be 9x squared. If I multiply by negative 1, if I multiply by negative 1, this becomes 9x squared minus 15x plus 4. But now, in the case of an inequality, when I multiply by negative 1, this inequality here is going to change, and then it is going to become greater than 0. Why? Because I have multiplied by negative 1. 9x squared minus 15x plus 4, which is greater than 0, that one has been multiplied by negative 1. The answer is equals to 0. Now, the factors, when we factorize this quadratic inequality, is going to be like this. It's going to be like this. It's going to be like this. We are going to have 3x minus 4 and 3x minus 1. Now, this thing is greater than 0. Remember that? And then, now, if I am to get my finishing answer, I'm going to draw a number line here. After drawing a number line, by the look of things, for this to be a 0, this one is going to be 4 over 3. For this to be a 0, this is going to be 1 over 3. Right? Now, here, when I substitute in those equations by this, I'm going to get a 0. And here also, when I substitute by this, I'm also going to get a 0. All right. Now, what is going to happen there is this. Because I want something greater than 0, then I'm going to consider this part here, excluding 1 over 3 to the left hand side. So this is going to be positive, and this is going to be positive. And if I can substitute by any value between this, I'm going to get a negative number, right? So what does this mean? This means that x is less than 1 over 3, or x is greater than 4 over 3. Right. Very important here. I said our subtopic here is this one here, whereby we are having what we call a quadratic inequality. Now, in the case of a quadratic inequality, there is no equal sign. We are going to have a less than sign, a greater than sign, greater or equal to, less or equal to. Now, here, as I said, we had minus 9x squared plus 15x minus 4, which is less than 0. Now, as I said, this is an inequality. But when I look at this inequality, I can see that the coefficient of x squared is negative. Now, I want to work with the coefficient of x squared, which is positive. Now, to make the coefficient of x squared positive, I am going to multiply everything here by minus 1. Now, if I multiply by minus 1, there are some of the implications that are involved. For an example, this is going to be 9x squared after I have multiplied that one by minus 1. And this one by minus 1 will be this one. This one by minus will be this one. But coming to the question of a sign, the sign is going to change. Like here, it is less than. Now, if it is less than, what happens is this. Then this is going to change to greater than, and this is going to be 0. Now, when I factorize this, these are the what? These are the factors. And the factors are 3x minus 4 into 3x minus 1. In other words, if I multiply this, I'm going to get that one back there. Now, what happens is this. I'm going to draw a number line, and on this number line, I'm going to have, for this to be 0, I'm going to have this x to be 4 over 3. And for this x to be 1 over 3. And then I am going to check here. Now, how am I going to check? Here we are talking about greater than. And I know something greater than 0 means something that is positive. Now, to get something positive when you multiply the two things, it means both of them must be negative. And to get something again which is positive, it means both of the factors must be positive. So now, when I get my result here, it means that x is going to be less than 1 over 3, or x is going to be greater than 4 over 3. Now, let's see how the allocation of marks is going there. For the factors, is a mark. For the correct inequality sign, you are going to get a mark. You are going to get a mark. And then for this ones, 1 over 3 and 4 over 3, you get a mark. And then for the answer, the whole answer, you get a mark. Now that is going to count 4 marks. That is going to count 4 marks. That is how now this inequality is going to go like. Now, another subtopic that is very, very important is this one of simultaneous equation. Now, another subtopic is the topic of simultaneous equations. Right. We are still solving here. We are still solving here. Right. Now, I'm just going to give an example here. If you have 2x minus y, which is equals to 7, and you have this one, x squared plus xy, which is equals to 21 minus y squared. Now, we are coming to the issue of simultaneous equations. Now, in the case of simultaneous equations, the word simultaneous means at the same time. So, we are going to solve for these two variables, x and y. Now, when you look at this one, 2x minus y, which is equals to 7, it is what we call a linear equation. Why linear equation? The highest exponent of x is 1. The highest exponent of y is 1. Therefore, 2x minus y, which is equal to 7, is called a linear equation. It is linear in x and y. And remember that the variables that are involved there are x and y. Now, coming to the second equation, which is x squared plus xy, which is equals to 21 minus y squared. Now, this one is quadratic. Why quadratic? Why quadratic? The highest exponent of x is 2. The highest exponent of y is 2. So, in the case of simultaneous equations, one is linear and the other one is quadratic. Therefore, now we must solve for the two variables x and y at the same time. Hence, the word simultaneous equations. Now, if you have one linear equation and the other one being quadratic, the principle that is involved here is like this. You substitute the linear into quadratic. Right. Let's see why I'm saying this. I'm just going to show you here. I'm just going to show you here why do I want that. We had 2x minus y, which is equals to 7. That is my first equation containing x and y. And then my other equation is x squared plus xy, which is equals to 21 minus y squared. That is going to be my second equation. Remember that one is linear, one is quadratic. We are solving for x and y at the same time or in the same two equations. In the same two equations. Now, what is happening here is this. From the first one, y is going to be equal to 2x minus 7. That is from the first one. Right? And this becomes, let me say, equation number 3. And then I'm going to say that substitute equation 3 into equation 2. Now what happens there is going to be like this. Y should be substituted by 2x minus 7. So we are going to have x squared plus x into 2x minus 7. Now it's equals to 21 minus y should be substituted by what? Y should be substituted by 2x minus 7. Right? And then it must be all squared. Right. Now, let's see what's going to happen there. We are going to have it as x squared plus 2x squared minus 7x, and then this is going to be equal to 21 minus 4x squared plus 28x minus 49. And then ultimately, if we simplify this, we are going to have 7x squared minus 35x plus 28, which is equal to 0. Taking out something common, we are going to have x squared minus 5x plus 4 will be equal to a 0. Now this thing, when you factorize it, it will be as follows. The factors of x squared are x and x. And the factors of 4 are minus 4 and minus 1. Now what does this mean? Therefore it means x is going to be equal to 4 or x is going to be equal to 1. So in this case we have solved for x. Now what are we running short of? We must solve for y. Now if we are to solve for y, we can substitute the value of x by 4 in the original equation, which is equation number 1, or x by 1. Now substituting that, what are we going to get? We are going to get y to be equal to 1 or y to be equal to negative 5. Right? As I said, this is a subtopic on its own of simultaneous equations. Now, in these simultaneous equations, you are going to be given one equation to be linear and the other one to be quadratic. Now, if we look at this one, 2x minus y, which is equals to 7, is a linear equation. It has two variables, x and y. And then this other one, it is x squared plus xy, which is equals to 21 minus y squared. This one is quadratic. Why quadratic? Because the highest exponent here, the highest exponent is 2. Now, in the first one, the linear one, I've made y the subject of the formula. Now, if I make y the subject of the formula, it will change to y, which is equals to 2x minus 7. And then y minus 2x minus 7 will be equation number 3. Now, I say substitute equation number 3 into equation number 2. And then what is happening? It means x squared plus x into 2x minus 7, because y has been substituted by 2x minus 7, will be equal to 21 minus 2x minus 7 all squared, because it was y squared there. And then upon removing the brackets, we have x squared plus 2x squared minus 7x is equals to 21 minus 4x squared plus 28x minus 49. Simplifying that, we came to 7x squared minus 35x plus 28, which is equals to a 0. And then taking out the common factor, dividing both sides by the common factor, we had x squared minus 5x plus 4, which is equals to a 0. Now, what does that mean? It means if we factorize this, x squared minus 5x plus 4, it will be x minus 4 into x minus 1. The whole thing is equals to 0, meaning that x will be equal to 4 or x will be equal to 1. Now, upon substituting x by 4 and 1 in the equation, in the original equation, then y is going to be equal to 1, or y is going to be equal to a 4. Now, this is going to count 7 marks, right? Now, 7 marks in which way? Let me see. Here, we have taken y to be the subject of the formula here. That is going to be a mark for this one here. And then, for the substitution, we are all the substitution here, we are going to have a mark. And then for the correct multiplication, we are going to have a mark. And then for the standard form, a mark. And then after the standard form, we are going to have the factors, a mark for the factors. And then for the x answers, and for the y answers. Now, this is going to count 7 marks. It's going to count 7 marks. So, I'm just going to give you one of these equations, so that you must solve them simultaneously. Right? Exercise. Here it is. I have x plus y. Or let me put it this way. I'm having x is equals to y plus 3. That is the first equation. And then the second one is x squared minus xy minus 2y squared minus 7 is equals to a 0. And then this is going to be the second one. And then solve it. as an exercise. I'm just going to give you 5 minutes to do this. And this consists of 5 marks. Thank you, May. All right, folks, let's get the solution to this exercise that I gave you. The first one was x is equals to y plus 3. That was my first equation, which is linear, of course. Linear y, the highest exponent is 1 on x and y. Now, this other one, x squared minus xy minus 2y squared minus 7 is equals to 0. It's a quadratic equation. Linear, the highest exponent is 2. It is linear in x and y. Highest exponent 1, 1. So 1 plus 1 is 2. And then the highest exponent there is 2. So this is quadratic. So what is going to be the solution? You are going to substitute straight. You are going to substitute straight x to be y plus 3 in x squared minus xy minus 2y squared minus 7, which is equals to 0. And this is going to be like this. It will be y plus 3. Substitute x by y plus 3. Then this is going to be y plus 3 all squared minus y into y plus 3 minus 2y squared minus 7. The whole thing is going to be equal to a 0. Now for the substitution, you are going to get a mark. For the substitution, you are going to get a mark. And then this is going to be y squared plus 6y plus 9 minus y squared minus 3y minus 2y squared minus 7. The answer is equals to a 0. And then ultimately simplifying this will give us the standard form, which is 2y squared minus 3y minus 2, which is equals to a 0. And for the standard form, you also get a mark. And then if you factorize this, then the value of y will be, or the factors, let me start first with the factors. They will be 2y plus 1 into y minus 2, and the answer is equals to 0. Meaning that, therefore, y will be equal to a negative half, or y is equals to 2. That is going to be the values of y. Now, for the factors, you get a mark. For both values of y, you get a mark. And then, for getting the values of x after substituting in the original equation, then x is going to be equal to 2.5, or x is going to be equal to 5. Then this is going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. This one counts 5 marks. That is how we should treat these simultaneous equations. Now, the last topic of the day will be either sets or exponents. Let me write it down. Sets or exponents. Now, sets or exponents are as follows. Sets or exponents are as follows. Now, if we have the fifth root, of the square root of 35 plus the square root of 3, right? Now this thing is being multiplied by the fifth root of the square root of 35 minus the square root of 3. Then surely this is what we call a set. Why do we call it a set? Because of the root sign. Now, if we are to solve this, we are having the root of 35, the root of 5 rather, by the root of 5 again. Now underneath we have the square root of 35 plus the square root of 3, and the square root of 35 minus the square root of 3. Now these two things are being multiplied because of the brackets. Now what's going to happen there is this. I can say that everything should be under the root of 5 because both of them are under the root of 5. So this is going to be the root of 35 plus the root of 3 multiply by the root of 35 minus the root of 3. Both of them, right? So this is going to be equal to, the root of 35 minus 1. And then this is the fifth root of minus 3 rather, minus 3 here, minus 3. Then this is going to be the root of, the fifth root of 32. And the fifth root of 32 is equals to a 2. Right. So this is a set. Now let's go to the other one of the exponents. Let's go to the other one of the exponents. The other one of the exponents. The other one of the exponents is this one. The square root of 10 to the power of 2009 all over the square root of 10 to the power of 2011 minus the square root of 10 to the power of 2007. That is the other one that we must know. Remember that I said this one is a set. I said it is a set. And I said this one is also a set. Now let's work it out. Let's work it out. If I want to remove the root sign, this becomes 10 to the power of 2009 divided by 2 all over 10 by 2007 over 2. Right? I have taken out a common factor whereby this is 100 minus 1. And then this ultimately becomes 10 over 99. And then this is going to count how many marks? It is going to count 3 marks. It is going to count 3 marks. Remember that I said the last portion will be on sets and exponents. Now these were sets, and then after that we had exponents, and this counted out of 3 marks. Now I'm just going to give you one sum so that you must do on sets. Now this sum is going to be like this. This sum is going to be like this. It will be, let me just get my stuff ready here. One plus the root of 2x squared in brackets minus the root of 8x squared, and then it counts 3 marks. Now let's see how are we going to go about doing that one. I'm giving you 2 minutes for that one. Okay, folks, let me give you the solution of this. I had 1 plus the root of 2x squared all squared minus the root of 8x squared. Now this will be the same as 1 plus the root of 8x squared plus 2x squared minus the root of 8x squared. Now what happens is this: plus the root of 8 squared, cancel the root of that one, or I can say that the answer becomes 1 plus 2x squared, and then that counts 3 marks. That will be 1 mark for the answer, 1 mark for simplifying that, and then 1 mark for that other answer, and that counts 3 marks. I thank you, ma'am.